why are we meeting today? On the February the 1st, it was the 3rd anniversary of the military coup, which deposed Aung San Suu Kyi and instated a military rule in Myanmar. So this is for friends everywhere to understand better the situation in Myanmar. And secondly, for those who haven't come across Friends Peace Teams, to learn about the work for peace that is being done all over the world, but particularly in Asia West Pacific. So now is the time for an acknowledgement of the land. In this room, we are on Jagera and Turrbal land, but wherever we are now, we all owe a tremendous debt to our forebears and the original land custodians for their care of the land, air, and waters. Let us give silent thanks, put a stop in our minds to extraneous busyness, and enjoy the silence. Thank you. Thank you very much. So my job is to introduce the speakers. And today we're looking at the faces of justice and peace work in Burma. So now I'm going to hand over to Kim's.
Thank you very much, dear friends, for coming. I acknowledge that we have a lot of friends within Australia, and there are also friends from the US who are here and all over Asia. I am Kims, and I coordinate the Friends Peace Teams Asia West Pacific initiatives. For to those of you who don't know about Friends Peace Teams, it is a spirit-led organization that develops long-term relationships with communities in conflict around the world. And hopefully that these communities will continue to work for justice and healing and to create enduring cultures of peace. We support peace workers in areas that suffer from global exploitation and militarism. And we work together to create cultures of peace and justice. We do this by getting to know ourselves, by entering other worlds through visiting, worlds that may be very different from our own, and we challenge global patterns of oppression, discovering our common humanity and celebrating our rich cultural and ethnic diversity. When the coup happened in Myanmar 3 years ago, I was asking myself, what am I going to do? And it was such a gift that a group have started the Myanmar worship group. And it really helped me get connected to what is going on in Myanmar and shared to the people around the Friends Peace Teams. And last year, in 2023, we decided, and I really felt it into my heart, that it is really time to visit the border. So I crossed the border together with friends twice and made some visits there and reconnected with the people, longtime friends who have been there. So these are the places where I was at the beginning of the year. It was a very good time to really get to know and just be there to listen and be present to the people inside the border and also in the Thailand border on what is happening around. And in November last year, in July 2023, we invited 3 people from Myanmar, 1 peace worker, his name is Kui, who is really working inside the border, and 2 human rights activists. And this made it possible for us to cross back to go again in November 2023, have a better plan on what we can do. And we did the first Alternatives to Violence Project workshop inside the border. And it also made it possible for the community inside Myanmar. And together we visited communities that would not be possible to be visited by an ordinary curious person. Now we have a strong relation inside the border. Now, for today, this is the flow of the agenda. We will have Emily, and I'm passing it to Emily.
So my presentation will be very short. I will just give brief history of the country and then what is happening with the country at the moment. Our country is very small, which is in keyword cities called Myanmar, and then we share border with Thailand and then Bangladesh and then China as well. So yes, and then I will give briefly about the history. So we got the independence from the British in 1948, And then so we got the military rule because of the conflict between central government and then and resistance groups and then warlords. And then there was a very famous uprising, student uprising, which is failed, of course. And then so we got the democratization in 2021. And then so it's literally we have a democratization reform from 2021 to 2020. 2011 to 2021. And then we got the election in 2020, November, and then the military lost the elections. So they decided to have they staged a coup. And then immediately they started to arrest parliamentarians and activists, human rights activists, and then journalists. Few days after that, hundreds and thousands of people all over the country took the road and against the coup. So since then, the military decided to repress the civil disobedience movement, which has joined across the country, people like doctors and teachers and students, young people. So they decided to suppress this civil disobedience movement, and they started to shoot down non-violent protesters on the streets until May. So the coup started in February. So they started to shoot down until like April. So that killing pushed a lot of people to start the armed resistance, non-violent to armed resistance, I would say, yeah. And then since then, the military have been committing a lot of human rights violations in Myanmar. So like you see, the numbers are really high, and they start arresting a lot of people. And right now, because of the conflict and the 1.95 million people are internally displaced. And then the military has conducted hundreds of airstrikes and targeting civilians, gathering spots like hospitals and schools, like religious places, like church. They don't discriminate anywhere. They will just shoot out to just suppress the revolution and the resistance. So just last week, the military targeted 2 schools. As a result, 4 years old young boys, 4 young boys aged from 12 to 14 were killed. At least 15 children were injured in that incident. And you will see the girl carrying around the school bags. She is carrying around her friend's backpack who has been injured or who has been killed by the bomb. And then you will see the little boys crying. We just horrified. We just heard that horrifying news that we found him that way after the incident happened. So it's horrible. And then, however, the military has been receiving a lot of support from China and Russia. For the resistant revolution pro-democracy movement group, we haven't received any support from the outside the world. Anyhow, it has been 3 years for the struggle of justice and equality and inclusive peace continue until today. So we just celebrate 3 years of resistance, 1 February, and yes. And then this ongoing resistance reflects that we believe that by winning this revolution can achieve inclusive peace in Myanmar and justice for all, what we have been longing for so many years. So despite facing seasoned violence from the military, the movement persists due to the unity, commitment, and determination of its participants. Like, it doesn't matter where we are. Like, for me, I'm here. I walk in, like, since the beginning of the revolution until now. I would go to protest. I would raise money for the people inside the country who are participating in the front line for the revolution. So yes. So how can you support for the struggle of peace and freedom in my country? As an individual, you can donate money for the humanitarian assistance and cover the news and write about us, and then read and share. And we also have a protest almost every month in Kinjong Square. So you can join with us too. That means a lot to us. And then as the organization, provide humanitarian assistance of crops and conflict-sensitive countries, and then offering cross-border humanitarian aid to refugees and other internally displaced persons, and investing in local ownership for delivering healthcare access, food, and visit necessary things, and education as well. And then facilitating, promoting inclusive dialogue to bring peace and democracy in Myanmar as well. Thank you so much for your attention. This is all from me now. Yes.
Just to wrap things up, I just briefly wanted to talk about what the situation is right now. So we have this organization AAPP, and they publish the numbers, and according to them, it's just around only around 5,000 people that have been killed. These numbers are highly accurate because they only confirm death, but the military has an interest not to let anyone confirm the death. So they kill deliberately journalists. Recently, a CIA report was leaked, and they estimate, and this is another conservative number, that the people who have been killed by the military is probably closer to around 50,000 people. So there's bloodshed on a daily basis. We have very credible sources of mass torture, mass rape, and genocide. So it's much, much worse than the official numbers indicate, which is why no one talks about this in the media. I wish I could tell you that this remained a peaceful movement, but it was a peaceful movement for the first 4 weeks. And then the military started to kill, especially young protesters. And a lot of pictures showed that they used a lot of professional assassins and people using sniper rifles to shoot people in the head, with the aim to really kill them, to demoralize the movement. So since then, there has been a armed resistance, but also a lot of non-violent resistance. Anyway, here you can see the fightings which have been happening over the last 3 years in one big map by a big organization called IISS. In the recent month, the protest movement and the allies have made a lot of progress. So they're moving in closer to the center of power of the military. So there is some progress. However, a lot of people are dying, and it's very messy. The military gets support from China and Russia. Pro-democracy movement basically has no international allies. This is so interesting because for the first time, you have the majority of young people who are basically the backbone of this revolution. They've made a lot of headlines with their extremely creative and often very non-violent manners to protest the movement, dressing up, writing poetry, creating online videos, making fun of the dictator, etc., etc. Some estimations assume that it's 65% young women, mostly between the age of 18 to 30. It's also one of the youngest populations in the country. And very impressive is as well that over the last few decades, there has been a lot of inter-ethnic conflict between different groups. Now it seems some studies that do interviews with people seem to suggest that especially the majority of the ethnic group, the Burma, they really feel sorry because they always assume that the ethnic minorities are making up stories when they talk about genocide in their areas. Now they're being slaughtered by their own military, which are major from the main ethnic group. It seems there's much more inter-ethnic cooperation and alliance. So they now talk about an inclusive democratic federal system where they want the ethnic groups to have a lot of autonomy over their own area, get a lot of funding. So they really want a genuine democracy. That seems to be the case. The only allies that the people in Myanmar fighting the military have is actually the global diaspora of people who are basically living in lots of countries, including here, Australia. Some of you may recognize this place. This was just last Saturday, a protest by the local community because it was the 3rd anniversary of the military coup. It's a small but very beautiful group, and we would like to invite you to maybe join us if you want in the next couple of weeks or months, because what usually happens is you have the Burmese community there, and me and 2 or 3 others are the only non-Burmese, which is a little bit disheartening for them. You can see me in the upper right corner talking because I'm a member of German Solidarity with Myanmar Democracy, an NGO that was established just in the aftermath of the coup. And we have managed to have a fairly equal share of Burmese and German citizens going to these kind of protests, and it's a real morale boost for them. So if some local Australians could show up and show their support, I think that would be great. My name is Lucas. I have a degree in Chinese studies, and I'm a certified peace and conflict consultant. So I used to work in Myanmar from 2017 to 2019 in a peace building project. You can see my students graduating up there. I was teaching them political science and applied peace work. And you can, in the center, you see how we're protesting in front of the German parliament against the atrocities happening in Myanmar, and the West basically just not doing anything. Australian government, only Western democracy didn't implement any sanctions under the last government. Only under Labour did they now implement some shaky, very vague sanctions, but they're still cooperating with a lot of military-owned companies, especially in mining and in terms of gasoline. So same old story. So the Australian government really is not very strong when it comes to this. So there's a lot of room for improvement. I'm going to the areas that Kins indicated in the beginning in the Myanmar-Thai border, where a lot of refugees are. And I will do my fieldwork for my PhD thesis, which wants to understand how and why do young people resist the military regime despite all the hardships. It's a real puzzle. We don't understand, since the Arab Spring, this generation, which was supposed to be very apolitical, why are they so political and how are they resisting dictatorships? So that's my research questions.